Hello, hello! Happy Monday! Welcome to Making Waves. I'm your host, Moana, a teenage girl with a lot to say and a lot more to learn. Hi, guys. Happy Monday. I'm so tired. It was daylight savings today, and I stayed up way too late last night reading. But today we're talking about getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to grow and to become a better version of yourself. And yeah, first we're doing current obsession though, and my current obsession is Formula One Drive to Survive. This is a show on Netflix. So I have been kind of getting into Formula One for probably the last 4 or 5 months, but the racing season didn't start until like 2 weeks ago or so. The second race of the season was only yesterday, and so I didn't really know like where to start. There was a lot going on. It was very overwhelming. And then I discovered Drive to Survive on Netflix and started watching it. So helpful if you want to get into Formula One and have no idea where to start. Watch this show. You will learn so much. Like, I already understand it like 10 times better. I understand how races work, how teams work. Like, everything is so much simpler when you watch that show. I'm on season 2, and I also watched the race yesterday, and yeah, so that's my current obsession. I hate people who are like, I've seen a lot of people posting about like people getting into Formula One now are, you know, fake and they're just new fans, blah, 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 blah. I hate when people do that with anything and they're like, you haven't been a fan as long as I have, like, you're not real fans, or like things like that. People do that with literally everything, like from Taylor Swift to Formula One to certain books and things like that, and it makes me so mad, especially because if it's somebody young, like if you're a teenager, like obviously I'm just now getting into it. I've only been alive for 16 years, and it's not like I was going to get into it when I was 10. Like, everything is still new, especially when you know, you've only had, like, free access to the internet and be able to be interested in your own things for so long. But Drive to Survive is really good, and it shows you, you know, what happens on the track, off the track, like, everything. It's amazing. Go watch it. It's very addicting, I will warn you, but so good. And then this week's High Tide is Morning Club. I have talked about this before. I talked about this last week. This is an app and an Instagram account, and it is created, run, managed by a group of, they started out with 20. I think they're more at like 30 or more girls now, but it's all like 20-somethings health content creators. They're amazing. They host, I think, daily Zoom meetings. Like, almost every single morning there is a Zoom that you can get on with all these other women and young girls who are trying to become the best versions of themselves. They do Gilmore Girls watch parties and just so much fun stuff. You know, guided journaling. They have journal prompts. They have, I think, a book club. So much fun, incredible, like, helpful, motivating, inspiring content, and it's almost all interactive on the app. I don't know if the app is fully out yet. I know that when I got it, probably over a year ago now, it was in the beta, so they should be just on the App Store now. And then they also have an Instagram that they post on that's also amazing and always so beautiful and clean and inspiring, so definitely go check them out. But let's get into today's episode. I have my Poppy to give me energy because I'm so tired. And I meant to wait to open it until I started the episode so you could hear. Poppy has the best soda can, like, opening sound. It's so satisfying. But let's get into the episode. The idea for this episode came from, so every year my parents, like, I wouldn't say force us because we're pretty willing to do it, but they have everyone in the family pick a word for their year. And I did not know what my word was going to be until I picked the word for 2024, uncomfortable. And at first my family was like, that's not a very positive word, Moana. Like, maybe let's pick something else. And I was like, no, hear me out. I want to get out of my comfort zone and push myself out of my comfort zone, because I knew I had a lot of growing that needed to happen this year. And in order to do that, I had to push myself and get out of my comfort zone, and I need to do it more, obviously. It's only March. And then I saw a quote on Pinterest that was like, your comfort zone will kill you. And I was like, that is an incredible episode title. I'm taking that. I'm going to post this. Like, I can't believe I haven't talked about this yet. So here we are. And let's get into why we need to get uncomfortable, because like I said, kind of a negatively connotative word, and it shouldn't be, because it's good to be uncomfortable, because that's when you grow, and that's when you learn. When we stay within the things we're comfortable with, there are no new challenges. It's just the ones we already know we can solve. And we do that because we're comfortable solving the problems we already have, because we know we can. And we know we're capable of doing those things. There's no uncertainty that we might not be able to get through them. And then, when there's no new challenges, there's no space to fail. And then there's no space to learn, because if you don't fail, you're not going to learn. I mean, you're going to learn, but not nearly as much as you would if you do fail. And so we definitely get stuck, or can get stuck in a slump of just constantly doing the same things, worrying about the same things, living the same way, practicing the same habits, because that's what's comfortable. And we don't reach our full potential that way. We miss out on so many opportunities that could, change the course of your whole life if it's, big enough, or makes you feel a certain way, or realize something about yourself that you really wanted to go for. We're wasting away our potential by not trying something just because it's different than what we're used to. I would much rather be grateful I tried something and failed than constantly regret not trying and wonder for the rest of my life whether maybe that could have been the thing. Maybe I would have been really good at it. Maybe I would have loved that. Maybe it would have taught me something amazing. Because the only way to really, really grow is to get out of your comfort zone and push yourself past the familiarity of the space that you're in now. And you aren't always going to be certain, but I think so many good things can happen when you try, even when you aren't certain. Because if you try only when you're certain you're going to do well, or you're going to be safe, and I don't mean physically safe, I mean it's safe because it's comfortable, there's no uncertainty and things get boring and stuck, and you're in a rut of doing the same things. Hopefully I'm making sense. Like I said, I'm really tired today, y'all. Your brain doesn't know the difference between good and bad. Only comfortable and uncomfortable. And this is something I got from my favorite book ever now, that I finished it finally, is 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think by Brianna Wiest. I love her so much. She's incredible. I've used this book as a high tide before, and I will probably in the future use it again in a couple weeks. Such an amazing book. Please go read it. It's literally sitting right here in front of me. Please go read it. It's absolutely life-changing. But she talks about how your brain doesn't know the difference between good and bad. It only knows comfortable and uncomfortable, familiar and different. And I think that's why so many people reject change, even when it's positive, because it's unfamiliar and it's new, and that uncertainty is what makes us uncomfortable, and we are uncomfortable, we feel unsafe, we feel negatively, and like that's a bad thing. And it might not necessarily be a bad thing. A lot of change is very, very positive, but we still reject it because it's different, it's unfamiliar. I think Brianna also talks about how familiar discomfort feels the same as comfort. So sometimes it may be easier to stay uncomfortable when that's what you're used to than to push yourself to be uncomfortable and to change and grow. We might mistake that familiar discomfort of, this is what we're used to, this is how it's always been, even if it's not the best feeling, that's what feels familiar and the same as what we're used to, so it feels comfortable, even if it's not really comfortable. Most people will not push past this and change and grow until staying where they are is more uncomfortable than changing or growing. They would rather stay, or maybe they wouldn't rather stay, but that is what's comfortable to them, and they might not even realize it, but they are more comfortable staying uncomfortable than pushing themselves to be uncomfortable to change or grow. I think if you push yourself before it gets to that point where you are so incredibly uncomfortable that you can't take it anymore and you have to change, if you push yourself before it gets to that point, you're giving yourself a head start. Because like I said, most people aren't going to push themselves past their comfort zone until it's more uncomfortable to stay in that stuck, rut, uncomfortable but familiar place. And I think most of us know what we should be doing to be the best, healthiest versions of ourselves. But it's more comfortable to keep doing the things that are familiar to us. We all know that we should be drinking a certain amount of water, and we should be journaling and reading and eating fruits and vegetables and healthy foods and avoiding this or that and working out every day and getting outside every day and not staying in bed and not scrolling on social media and all of these things that we're constantly told are what's going to make us the healthiest versions of ourselves. But we don't do them because it's more uncomfortable to stay in that uncomfortable space that we are used to. This year, like I said, I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone because I know I have a lot of growing to do, and I'm tired of being stuck in my uncomfortable comfort space. So these are some of the things that I have done to push myself this year, and the biggest one is definitely the pageant I'm competing in. It's in June. Definitely the biggest one. It's all very, very new, and there's so much to learn, and I have to, it's a lot of glitz and glam, and the makeup is not something that I'm used to anymore. I quit dancing in elementary school and never really wanted that amount of makeup on my face again, and now I'm putting myself back into a similar world, and that's uncomfortable. And there's also a lot of public speaking involved and interviewing and asking for sponsorships from businesses and adults and asking for help. A lot of asking for help, and I am so independent that I don't want to ask for that help, but I know that I need it, and I need to push myself to be okay to ask for help, because it is okay to ask for help when you need it. I'm also doing my best to try new things in foods every single second I get the chance. Literally, it could be the smallest thing, but if I've never tried it, I've never done it, and somebody asks me or offers, immediately I'm like, yes. Like, let's do it. Let's go for it. Why not? Another thing is talking to people in my gym. I talk about this all the time, but I'm a climber. I go to the climbing gym once a week, and I've been going there for over a year now, and I don't know very many people there. And so this year I've definitely started to, have conversations with people. And, people would try and talk to me in the gym, and there's not very many people my age in the gym, so it was usually older people, which was also very uncomfortable. But even when older people try to talk to me, I'm polite, but I still, I have a real conversation with them, and I talk about, the climb that we're doing or whatever. And I'm actually starting to feel like I'm slowly becoming part of a bigger community in my climbing gym, which is really nice. Posting more casually on social media. This one has been so hard for me, and I'm still working on it. A lot of work needs to be done on this one for me. The hardest thing for me is that I am really struggling with caring what my extended family thinks. A lot of my extended family on all of my parents' side follows me on social media, and the content that I'm posting is not for them. I have contemplated on removing them as followers and things like that before. And, I haven't gotten to that place yet, but it's hard for me because, one, the content's not for them, right? I'm not looking for people like them, however old they are, I'm looking for teenage girls to follow me and to, appreciate that content that I'm trying to put out. And so it's definitely hard because, A, they're not going to understand it the way that I'm hoping that people will, and there's just so much behind it that's definitely very scary for me and something that I'm trying to get through. And I'm still also trying to get past the being okay with being cringy and made fun of by people my own age. I'm pretty good on that side of it, but it's still hard because I feel like I'm connected to a lot of different people from like various different schools in my area. Like some people, I think most people my age now, thanks to Snapchat and Instagram and things like that, but I am friends with people from like all different schools all over my area. And so it's not just like one school of people that's going to be making fun of me. It's like all of Georgia that I'm worried about, I guess. And, you know, it's puts you in a really vulnerable place posting your life and your thoughts and your feelings online. And then another big one is working on becoming a model. I don't know if I've talked about this very much on the podcast, but something I'm working towards, something I'm excited about. And another thing that's very new, I am also posting about it. And that's definitely the hardest part because I'm so uncomfortable sharing my goals with people. People ask me all the time, especially, you know, extended family or, you know, older adults in my life will ask like, oh, what are you going to do after high school? Blah, 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 blah. And I almost always say, I don't know. I do know. That's a lie, a fib that I tell almost everyone because I don't want to share my goals and my aspirations. I like to keep those things to myself. So sharing that I want to become a model and I'm working towards that is like very, very uncomfortable for me. And I also applied to my first agency this week, which I don't think I'm going to get in. This is definitely the agency that I think I will get into, but with the digitals that I submitted, they're horrible. But I did that because I kind of wanted them to say no, because I kind of wanted to get my first rejection to kind of get past that initial no. But I did that. And just the posting, so hard, because I don't want people to know my plans. I like to keep them to myself. So those are kind of the things that I'm working towards, and there's still a lot that I need to do better. It's definitely been a good start, but there is so much more that I'm avoiding that I know I need to push through and just go for it. There are a lot of guests, for example, on the podcast that I would love to have on. You know, so many teenage girls out there creating, posting, making waves in their fields. But I am struggling to find the confidence to reach out to them because, oh, my podcast is too small, or, you know, they're not going to be interested. And I reached out to one of them last week. Have not gotten an answer yet, but I did go for and email her, so we'll see what she says. I'm hoping she'll say yes. And then talking to the camera. I've had so many people tell me that I should do YouTube and post more of me talking to the camera, and I will send, like, videos that I've done to my friends, and they'll be like, Mona, you should post this, and I am too scared to never post it. So that's another thing that I'm going to be working on very, very soon. I think that, like I said, especially when you're talking to the camera and you're giving your very raw thoughts, like straight up, there's no typing them out, there's no, you know, you can plan it out a little bit, but you are straight up looking at the camera, talking to it, saying your thoughts. It puts you in a very vulnerable position, and that's definitely scary and uncomfortable. So those are the things I'm working on doing better. But let's talk about how you can push yourself and get out of your comfort zone. First thing, pretty simple, try a new hobby or sport. Bonus points if it's with other people who, you know, maybe people you know, maybe people who you don't. But, you know, trying something new, maybe take your friends and go try something new all together. That I think is a really great way to all kind of push yourself. And also make it more fun because you are probably not going to be very good at it. It's your first time. And you can, you know, make fun of yourselves for it. Next is public speaking. I think this is one that so many people, like, definitely struggle with and are terrified and it's uncomfortable for them to speak in front of any sort of group. But one way that I think as a high schooler or middle schooler that you can apply this, as long as you're not homeschooled by like me, is raise your hand and present your project in class first. When I was in public school, I was definitely the kind of person who would be like, yes, let me go first. That was more because then I'm setting the expectation and I don't have to go after someone else's who was really good. But, you know, that's a good way to put yourself out there a little bit and just go first. What's the worst that can happen? Start a conversation with someone. Like I said, I've been talking to people in my gym. It could be at the library. It could be you're in the dressing room at Hollister and there's a girl your age there. I don't care where it is. Just talk to somebody, a stranger, someone at school that you've never really talked to but want to. Just have a conversation. It can be simple, small talk, and polite, but at least you're, pushing past that fear of starting the conversation and you're going for it. Another really simple one is just try new foods. Try things from different cultures, things like that. Food is, probably the simplest thing. I think, like anytime you go to a restaurant, whatever it is, there's going to be something that you haven't tried before. So just go for it. Why not? Or, if somebody else orders something that you've never had, be like, can I try that? Like, I've never had that before. Very simple, very easy thing you can do. Another thing is sign up to take a class on a subject you know nothing about. So it could be pottery making, glass blowing, pickleball, I don't know. Find a cheap class in your area that you've never done that thing. Maybe you've done it once before. And just try it out. You never know what could happen. Maybe you end up being really naturally good at it. Maybe you're absolutely terrible and you never have to go again. And then purposely face rejection. There's this guy, I don't know his name. He's like a motivational speaker. My mom knows. Or knows of, I don't know. But his whole thing is that he's like purposefully faces rejection, and I think he like proposed to his wife with a surprise wedding. So like he proposed to her and then they immediately got married. And I don't know. Anyway, the point is, put yourself in situations where you are likely to get a no, just to get used to being rejected and letting yourself be okay with rejection. I think probably the best way to do this, not the best way, but the easiest thing that I can think of is, and it's probably kind of late in the year to do this, but try out for a sport you've never played. The only time I've ever done a school like sport tryout was in middle school. I tried out for volleyball because I had been playing at the time. Didn't make the team, honestly, thank God, because I don't think my body would have made it through those practices. I used to see them running outside and stuff. Anyway, that's not the point. But, try out for a sport you've never played. Maybe do it with a friend. I don't know if you can get in trouble for that, but if you're not going to get in trouble, just do it for fun and see what happens. Run a marathon or do an obstacle course, something like that. It's spring, so there should be a lot of things like that available, and they're not usually very expensive to enter. You don't necessarily have to run a marathon. You could do like a walking 5K or something like that, but it's still like a physical activity that maybe you've never done before, and it's also in front of other people. Just try it. Why not? Learn a new language. And another bonus points is to use that language to communicate with someone. If you know someone who's fluent in Spanish and you learn Spanish, be like, hey, can we practice together once a week? Like, will you help me learn Spanish? I really want to learn it. Or French or sign language or whatever it is. But when you use it in front of somebody who's been a fluent speaker, especially from like birth or for a very long time, that is scary. Especially for me, when I was in Puerto Rico and I used my Spanish, I was like very timid about it and so scared to say things that were wrong, and my pronunciation was terrible, but I definitely realized that they don't really care that much if you say it not the best. They're just glad that you're speaking in their first language rather than your first language. Start posting your life on socials. Easy to do, but hard to do. The actual taking of videos, editing them, uploading them, not that hard. YouTube vlogs, get ready with me, whatever you want. It's the actual pushing the post button that can be hard, because almost everyone is scared of being judged and scared of caring what people think. And, no matter how much we try, we're always going to care at least a little bit of what other people think of us. And so that's definitely can be uncomfortable. So, give it a try. Why not? You can always take it down. And no one really cares that much. So why not? Like I said, sign up for a pageant. You do not have to do one as big and expensive as the one that I am doing. There are so many little local ones that you can try out for. You can get a gown at a thrift store for pretty cheap, and it could be the ugliest dress you've ever seen. If you go into a thrift store and there is a giant formal dress for $20, but it is hideous, please wear it. That sounds like so much fun, and if I wasn't competing in the one that I'm going to in June and I was allowed to compete in local pageants right now, I would totally do that, because that sounds horrifying, but so fun, and like such a fun story. And then last thing is just trying something new alone. Pretty much any of the things I've listed you can do on your own, or doing a solo date. Basically anything that I talked about in the episode titled Alone But Not Lonely. Those things are all pretty uncomfortable for most people to try, so, why not? Okay, today's homework is to pick one thing that's out of your comfort zone. It could be something that I just listed, something that you've been avoiding trying because you're scared, and try it this week. This week, I'm telling you, try it this week. Don't push it off, because then you'll never do it. And if you do it, let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram at makingwaves.ma. Post on your story and tag me. I want to see you growing and getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself past your limits. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this podcast and you want to show your support, please leave a rate and review. If you have been listening for a long time and you really enjoy the podcast, it does not take long. If you're on Apple Podcasts and you're listening, just scroll, I think it's at the bottom, and you can write a short review. Just be like, I love this podcast. You can leave more detail if you want, but that is so important for the growth of the podcast, and I would really appreciate it. Follow me on social media at the moannaadams or at makingwaves.ma. Follow this show so you never miss another episode. Don't forget to drink your water, and I will talk to you later.